Hi, my name is Olinga Taeed. I'm grateful to be speaking today at the Africa Supply Chain in Action Conference on the topic of blockchain and supply chains, a dynamic duo. I'm here representing the Transnational Transparent Procurement Foundation, otherwise known as TTP. And this is a not-for-profit which is based at Birmingham City University in the UK, but operationally it comes out of Nairobi in Kenya. Let's first look at who is involved in this sector. You cannot have been involved or be in supply chains, procurement or purchasing, logistics without hearing the word blockchain. It dominates the global landscape. And it's not so much what's happening now, but the belief that it's going to be the go-to technology for the future of this industry. And here you see on the screen just some companies who are operating using this technology, but frankly, I would have thought 99.9% of large multinationals have adopted it going forward and are experimenting with it. I think it's important for us to understand. We at the TTP Foundation, we focus on fourth industrial revolution technologies. That means blockchain, sometimes called distributed ledger technology, DLT, AI, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, IoT, and 5G networks are as technologies that we are applying right now to supply chains. And as a consortium organization, which you are free to join, without any money being transacted, it means we can, as a collective, as a consortium, get to come up with solutions that are tried and tested and safe for our current industries. So I guess, we have to ask, why is it that this is now being used so much? And why is it the hope for the future? Blockchain, most people will understand, blockchain is like a massive software Excel spreadsheet in the sky. It's a huge ledger in the sky. And there you can post all kinds of things to it, which are to show compliance and transparency against any standards that you want. It will time and date it. It will also show the value of the transaction. It will not show who put it there and who received it. So that way it protects parties, but yet it's transparent to everyone else watching. In addition, it's immutable. That means you cannot change it. You cannot put something and then change the history. And this is very important in certain areas. In Africa, we have problems of bribery. We have problems of modern slavery. We often have problems in sustainability, and all these, of course, are global. It's nothing to do with just Africa. And so it is important not to be able to change history and to dress things which up as something else. Once you, of course, put it up there in the ledger in the sky, you can then track it, and you can trace it, and you can trace products right from the creation to the point of sale. And so you can do an entire provenance of every single product, organization, projects, processes, and even people can be monitored this way. And you can, so most people have heard about blockchain being useful in this environment. What I guess people are less aware is the use of blockchain to align values. And by values, I mean to look at controlling how the strategy of the country that you're purchasing for, or the corporate that you're purchasing for, is actually implemented within your logistics and your supply chains. Because blockchain has what's called a smart contract ability. That means it can say, do this if this happens. If this happens, automatically do this. So you can say, for example, we don't believe in slavery. If you find slavery in the supply chain, anywhere within the first tier, second tier, third tier, right across to 10 tiers later in another country, you can automatically stop the entire chain. And this means it can convey the values of the purchaser, which can be the government or a corporate, and implement it strategically throughout your entire chain. Because code is law in blockchain. It's a software and it can be codified. It then allows us to implement things without complex agreements, because we can say to our supply chains, you've got to provide certification of sustainability, of whatever we want, health and safety, and put it up onto the blockchain, and we will then know that you're a good supplier, etc. It can then be tested and verified, and if anyone down the supply chain says, actually, no, I am in slavery, and they can contact us and say, no, this is an untrue and a lie that they've told you this. So it is a very amazing, transparent tool for evading complex agreements and so on. And because of that, countries are now also using this to look at seamless transaction, frictionless trade between the countries and at borders. Without having huge 5-10 year agreements that no one can do. Right these days, you can't even plan next month, hardly plan such long events. So in more exciting, like in UK where I'm right now, with post-Brexit, they're looking at blockchain for frictionless trade between the UK and other countries. And this is just typical of how things are flowing. Certainly in Africa, where you have, for example, tax-free zones and trade zones, it's been looked for to implement for monitoring without huge border controls and admin, which is of course always questionable, because you can prefer specific suppliers and opens up to bribery and all the other issues that go with it. And if you were a government, it would guarantee national taxes and revenues, because you would be able to monitor all transactions. So you can start to see why it is actually looked upon as like a panacea to everything. So if we go a little bit more deeper into this, you could, for example, using this technology, start to pay some of your suppliers with a token that belongs to your company or your government, etc. But in other words, you can say, I'll pay you, for example, 99% cash, 98% cash, but 1 or 2% in the token that represents my company. And this token can be exchanged for cash only if you comply with these values that we have of sustainability and health and safety for staff and how you treat customers, etc., etc., etc. You can make your own rules. It doesn't have to be one big set of rules that everyone's got to comply with. So this way, tokenization can also, be used as a way to have your own currency of your corporate to pay for your suppliers, who mostly, of course, want money. But if they want, they can ignore the 1 or 2%. But it's a lot of money, 1 or 2% to lose, isn't it? So these things are typical of the kind of implementations that are being done these days. It can lead to a circular economy, as you can see in this diagram, where communities are involved. The people who have your tokens, for example, if that company pays its staff you 1% using your tokens, those company staff members can go to the retailer, to a Starbucks or coffee, and buy things with it, with your symbol on it, with your values associated with it. So it brings a circular economy to a region, a town, a city, or a whole country, or to your entire chain. And this is, so it's become a global instrument to be able to export your values everywhere. And, even if you just wanted to use as a reservoir of certification, for all the certification, because things can be very complex, you can say you comply with these certifications, and if it's on the blockchain, you register it, we'll see it from here, and only if it's registered, the blockchain automatically allows them to start supplying. You don't have to have rafts of staff doing this. So you can see it has many key advantages. It's effectively the procurement function, the supply chain function, but in code. And this, often people in procurement think that that means they're going to lose their jobs, but actually what it does is free you to work more strategically, more at board level, to to be at, often our sector is not represented at the board. It is often ignored at the board. You are not many CEOs who are from procurement and logistics. So actually, it's a complete emancipator of our professional function. It has come recently to the fore because of COVID-19. With COVID-19, has been a crisis of trust, isn't it? We don't trust our suppliers, we don't trust the people, we don't trust the payment, we don't trust the country it's coming from. Often people don't trust China now. This is a really big issue. So we set up a pledge center based on blockchain, which were as a start to moving to this new fourth industrial revolution sector going forward. And some 2,700 people and companies and multinationals have now applied to join this consortium, and it excites us. And we've in fact recruiting right now 21 people from the States to try and onboard these. And you're welcome to come and join us in this respect. But it brings, we are often adamant that COVID-19 pandemic is a crisis of trust, and blockchain is considered to be a trustless system. It is not based on me personally trusting you. The system can actually monitor that trust. So, if we are now moving towards what can we do going forward, and how can we take things in the future? So, we developed a white paper which we brought out last December, posted it. We now currently altogether have around 170,000 members. You don't need to pay, so you're welcome to read the white paper. If you're interested, please do approach us. Please, you are free to join us without any commitment. But we need to collectively come up with greater ways to think in our future in this business, because the old ways and the old systems are now flawed, and certainly pandemic has really highlighted how flawed this business is of supply chains. It is, we thought we could rely on just in time. Well, you can't. We thought we could rely on countries. Well, it's turned out that the countries can be banned overnight from supplying. Look at, for example, even things like telecom industry and America against the Chinese problems, and things can just completely crash our chains from left to right without even us guessing. So we need to pick up these new tools, and these tools are new to us in supply chains and procurement, but they're not new to the world. Companies like Google, Facebook have been using it, Amazon have been using it constantly, and even governments. China uses this technology to, China is actually something of the order of 70% of the world market in blockchain. They have 70% of all patents in the world in blockchain. They are very strong in this sector. And they are just like the internet is to America and the West Coast, China, blockchain is to China. And they have adopted it because they believe it's 10 times greater than the value of the internet. They forecasted about $103 trillion, and they aim to maintain that it's their key role in that sector going forward. I sit on a government committee by the Ministry of Commerce on blockchain in China. So, I'm the non-partisan academic here and a blockchain expert. But I can tell you, things are not always as appear to be. People often think that these things are out there to control, but it's not. It's often also to safeguard. It is about looking at data as a currency of our value, all right? So, procurement then becomes a data management profession, where it is not about checklists and not about friendships and networking and who you know, who you don't know. but it's about managing data, just like Amazon manages our data. And by managing data, West Coast companies are able to sell more to us. They nudge us into other decisions. In the case of Facebook, they can even nudge us into politically voting in certain directions. And they're very open about this. Well, other places like, in Europe, we use our data under GDPR. I'm so sorry, and that, where cookies, etc., hasn't really worked out. To be frank, because all we seem to do is click on cookie acceptance all day long, 20 times a day. Whereas in countries like China, they use their data, your data, our data, to safeguard us. They are much more less interested in individual rights, but much more interested in the corpus of society. Hence, they reacted much more quickly to the pandemic than the other countries, because they could see where people are at the time, they could see the movement of people, they could make decisions quicker. And I now am pleading to our sector, our procurement, that we're living in an increasingly complex world where we are having to become responsible, not just in that supply decision, but also the welfare of those people within that supply chain. We are having to be responsible for slavery. Who would imagine that we would be responsible for slavery, or what we put in our mouths, or what damage it can be done? And these things will affect us. It will affect our share price. It will affect the health of people. Suddenly, our profession has become a very responsible senior position. And we cannot continue to use the infantile tools that we've had before. It's a challenge, however, because, I have to say that it's mostly for the young, because I'm an old guy, I'm 60 years old, and it's, to be honest, a bit late for me to learn these things. All I can do is facilitate the process, help in the education of the process, but it is up to the young, the audience today, to actually take this forward and know that if they wish to participate in the sector, they've got to get to grips with these technologies. AI will one day replace easily the normal tick boxing exercise. It doesn't require people to do that, does it? Those things can be easily automated. What our focus must be into designing systems that actually take us forward. So I think, before 2030, United Nations SDGs implemented, the Sustainable Development Goals, we need to be in the supply chain industry at a place where we are as comfortable with using fourth industrial revolution technologies as are currently the internet companies using those in the West Coast of America, and other companies using that. We talk about Uber, we talk about exciting revolutions. We talk about in Africa, we talk about payment systems. I've been previously very highly involved in payment systems in Africa with MTN and Vodacom, and Go in Nigeria, and Safaricom in Kenya, and so on. And these revolutionized us in Africa, and that's because we do not have a legacy to try and protect. We adopted the new standards because it was a free space, and the same reason is why we are now open to adopt these new technologies to go forward in Africa. And Europe and the rest of the world, America, are really bound with their own legacy systems and don't know what to do now. They literally are stuck with their old systems and realize it is no longer that good. So this is a great opportunity. I want you to consider grasping it. I want you, if you're young, if you're, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity that will come to you. It is inspiring. You will become the leaders that we're all looking for, and not just to save procurement, but you will be saving the world, because you will be changing the values of the world from an old school, old technology, last Thursday kind of concept to a new world order, which will be to safeguard all our mankind. Thank you very much. My name is Olinga Taeed, and I look forward to talking to you very soon.